guys, welcome back to Get Your Play Online. My name is Mackenzie and we are doing a little bit of sensory time. Today we are going to be making a garden sensory bin. I have it right here. It's got some really beautiful flowers. It's super fun to play with. You can just lift it up like this and go like that. So I'm going to be showing you how to make this today. So for that, we are going to need some rice, some really pretty flowers. I picked some of these from my house, and then I picked some of them from a bouquet that I had at my house, and just some really pretty flowers. You can also use sticks, leaves, grass, just kind of whatever nature items you have at your house. But today I'm going to be using some flowers just because I really like flowers. And then you're going to need 3 containers with lids. We're going to be shaking the rice really hard, so it's really important to make sure that you have lids just to make sure the rice doesn't go all over. And then I have a measuring cup to measure out my rice. And then I have some super fun food coloring. I have green, purple, and pink. If you don't want to use like purple or pink or green or whatever, you can also use blue. Just make sure you use just a little bit of it to make sure that it's super light. Or if you want to add blue, you can do that too. So let's get started. I'm going to make the green first. So I'm going to open up my rice. Since I already have some rice made out, I'm just going to use a half cup, but you guys are going to want to use the full cup just to make sure that you have enough rice. All right, so you're going to get in there and you're just going to make half a cup, and then I put the rice to the side for right now, and then we're going to squeeze a couple drops of food coloring. I'm going to use about 5 to 7 just to make sure that's a really pretty green color. We're going to close our lid and make sure it's tight. Make sure it's tight, and we're going to shake it really, really hard. And I would recommend using clear containers just because you can see how green your rice is, and if you want to add more food coloring or if you need to shake it a little bit more. I'm going to shake mine just a little bit more just because I can still see some food coloring. And I think this is a little bit too light for me. I can still see some white rice, so I'm going to add a few more drops of food coloring to mine. Just make sure to get that food coloring all over. All right, and then close your lid. Make sure it's on there super, super tight, and then shake it. Shake it side to side, up and down, all over. All right, I think I really like this rice right here. So you can see how it's like a really bright green color. And then you're gonna wanna leave the top off of this and let it dry anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour just to make sure that it's not super, super sticky still. Like you can feel the food coloring still kind of drying. So make sure you leave it open. I'm gonna set that to the side. And then the next color we're gonna make, I think we're gonna make some purple. So you're gonna take another little bit of your rice, scoop it in there. Another really cool trick to make sure that you aren't getting rice all over is to measure out your rice in your container and then transfer it right into the container. So if you were just to like put it right here, scoop it, move your rice bag a little bit, and pour it in there. And then it makes sure that you don't get any rice on the table and whatnot. All right, so we're gonna put a few drops of food coloring in here. And I have my purple. We're gonna put our lid on. Make sure it's really, really, really tight. And then shake. Shake. The purple is the hardest one for me to shake just because it takes a little bit longer because you want to make sure that the purple is super evenly distributed. Otherwise, you might get some really dark purples and some really light purples. And just shake it all over. All right, let's see. Perfect. So I have some pretty dark food color or some pretty dark rice. If you don't want yours quite that dark, that's okay. When I made mine the other day, it wasn't quite as dark like this. You can also make it like this, and I use about 4 drops of food coloring. I wanted mine a little bit darker for this one, so I put just a little bit more. I put about 7 drops of food coloring in mine. And we're going to set that aside. Make sure you leave it open. And then we're going to make our last color, which is pink. So I am going to scoop out my rice. Just like this. Set my rice to the side. I'm gonna make some pink. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. We're gonna close this. Make sure it's all the way closed. And we're gonna shake it. And I really like how this one turned out. We're gonna shake, 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 shake. Let's open it up and see how it looks. Shake it just a little bit more. I can still kind of see a few little clumps of food coloring. We're gonna shake it really well. I think that looks better. And then you have something kind of like this. It looks kind of like this. So we're gonna set that to the side, and then leave it open. Let it dry about 20 minutes to an hour. Just make sure that it's really dry and stuff like that, because if it's not quite dry enough, you'll get some transfer of colors. So the colors will kind of go in each other, and it doesn't make very good rice. So I have some rice that is already dried. I have my green right here. You see the difference? So this one kind of still feels a little sticky, and you can tell that it's wet. And this one, when it dries, it kind of turns a little bit lighter. So that's kind of what we're looking for. All right. So I have my really big bowl right here. We're just going to pour the rice inside. Pour this rice in. I got my purple, my pink. You can kind of start to mix it around. And I've got some purple that I made earlier. Just mix that around. All right. And then you're just going to take your hands. Here, let me place you down a little bit. You can see this a little better. You're just going to take your hands and go all around. You just mix all of your rice together. Make sure you don't have any really big clumps of colors. And this is about 1/2 cup each of rice. I'm going to add my other container of mixed rice in with this. So to show you guys kind of what yours will look like with a full cup. All right. And I'm going to take my other bowl of rice, kind of sprinkle it in there. I'm going to take my flours out really quick so I don't smash them. See, and just take it like this, fold it over, get all the edges. Make sure you don't have any clumps of one color of rice. So then it'll look kind of like this. See, it's super pretty, it's super fun. It reminds me of spring. So now we're gonna add our flowers. So I'm just gonna add some big flowers, some little flowers, whatever kind of flowers you want. See, this is my favorite flower. It's super pretty. It's a daisy. I really love it. Just add some flowers. I have some yellow flowers, some purple flowers, some pink flowers. Got another green flower. I've also got some dandelions. These are the ones that I picked from my yard. When you're making this, take pictures for us so that we can see what kind of flowers you did yours with. We love to see your guys' pictures, and we love seeing what you guys create. I also have some little white flowers. So now that you've got enough flowers, I'll take this one too. Now that you've got enough flowers, you're going to pick them up with your hands, and you can put kind of the rice all over it. And it's super fun, and this feels really, really good on your hands. So just like that. And that's your sensory bin for a garden. You can also make this with pasta, which I'll show you really, really, really quick. Right here. I'm gonna take another bin, some that's already mashed up, but I'll pour this in, and then I'll show you how I made this. See, it's just, I have angel hair pasta right here, which is just what I had at the house. But you can also use spaghetti, you can use bigger pastas, things like that. I just had angel hair at the house, so that's the one that I took. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna need a bag like this. I'm just gonna take just a little bit. Just like this. And put it into my bag. And make sure that it is all the way closed, because we're gonna kind of be shaking this one too. So then you're just gonna take it and break it. Just like that. Take it and break it into super, super small pieces. Just like that. And when you kind of wrap them in pretty, pretty small pieces, you can take your hands. Here, let me scoot you down so you can see my hands. And you're just going to push. You hear how it's breaking all the pasta? You can crunch it, just like that. So this is going to make a little bit of a longer rice, but that's okay. It still feels really good on your hands, and it's still super, super fun to play with. All right, And you've got something that kind of looks like this. And you're going to go ahead and pour your crushed up pasta into the little bowl right here. And then I think I'm going to make some more purple. For this one, you don't need quite as much food or drops in there. All right, and then we're just going to shake. Make sure your lid is on. And shake it. Shake it pretty good. Just like that. Actually, I'm going to add just a little bit more food coloring. Just to make it a little bit more purple. There we go. This pasta, your work won't be quite as bright, just because the pasta is a little bit more yellowy. So you'll get a little bit darker colors, but that's fine. It's just kind of whatever you have on hand. We would love to see some of your creation. But next, I have a little book for you. Since we are talking about flowers, and flowers go in gardens, we're making a garden sensory bin. I thought we could read We Are the Gardeners by Joanna Gaines. All right, let's get started. Our family's garden began with one small potted fern. Dad stumbled upon it at the hardware store when he ran in for some supplies. He said it was just too cute to leave behind, and he thought it would make Mom smile. And it did. You see? We chose a sunny windowsill for that pretty little fern. It seemed like a good, safe spot for him to grow. This was back when we were little kids, but we all still remember visiting the plant each day to give him a drink, and sometimes we'd even whisper to him a little bit. And then, plot twist, out of nowhere, our fern died. Death by overhydration. That's just a fancy way of saying we gave him way too much water. Looking back, each of us must have watered him every day. That's a lot of drinks for a little plant. By mistake, we love that plant to death. Some people tell themselves they are no good at something after just one small failure. But no chance we were going to give up that easy. So we checked out some books from the library, and we found out that ferns can be tricky and prefer to live in a shady spot. Apparently, a plant's leaves can communicate to us what they're needing. We also learned that most plants have good manners and like to sip, not gulp. Lesson learned. Dad got us a fresh fern, and with it came fresh hope. This time we set the pot on our piano, way on the other side of the room, where the sun wouldn't give him so much attention. We made a watering schedule and took turns saying a lot of nice things to our little sprout of a plant. And fern number 2 lived and thrived and grew. And finally, Mom got him a little potted friend. And then another, and then 1 or 2 more. We noticed that talking to our plants actually helped them grow bigger and stronger. So we added some songs and jokes into the mix. Unlike when we overwatered 0 plants died from us talking too much. Pretty soon, plants were taking over the house, and Dad said it was time to graduate to outdoor gardening. Mom was as excited about the new outdoor garden as we were, and she started talking about it with a dreamy look in her eyes. That's when Dad called a family meeting so we could come up with a real plan. We all gathered around the kitchen table and got to work dreaming, planting, and drawing things out. We knew we needed a sunny spot, a place where the plants could sunbathe for at least 6 hours a day. We'd be red as radishes if we did that, but plants just love it. And more than that, they need it. In the garden, there is no life without sunlight. Dad always said that the fountain is the thing when it comes to building. A house can't be strong if it's built on something weak, and the same holds true in the garden. So to make the foundation of our garden strong, we filled it with something called soil. Good soil, which includes a bunch of tiny living things called organisms, can grow things in it. That's pretty amazing when you stop and think about it. A whole hidden world full of life is happening beneath our feet. Just because you can't see the good things with your eyes doesn't mean they're not there. And another cool thing about soil is it feeds and strengthens the seeds we sow. And then, like a miracle, plants and flowers burst out of the ground. We also knew we needed our garden to get plenty of water. Rain is the very best thing for plants to drink, but it's hard to know when and if rain is coming. So a couple other options to keep plants hydrated are to collect rainwater or use a sprinkler or garden hose to get the job done. Once we had a location with plenty of sun, good soil, and a watering plan, we got right to work. First things first, seeds. The most fun part of planning our garden was deciding what to plant. We started with the foods we like to eat, like strawberries and tomatoes, and then we chose some pretty flowers to keep them company. The thing about seeds is that they're everyday miracles. Everything a plant will grow up to be is already hidden inside the seed. We chose flowers like zinnias, sunflowers, and cosmos so the pollinators would visit our garden. Butterflies, hummingbirds, and bees spread pollen around from flower to flower, encouraging even more things to bloom. We like knowing that little helpers are out there in nature working with us to help this garden grow. The bees must have put out the word that we had a pretty good thing going, because sure enough, all sorts of other critters started to arrive. We quickly found out that there were 3 types of bug in our backyard: the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's start with the worst part. It was a pretty sad day when the aphids arrived. They are some of the more well-known villains in the gardening world. They suck the life right out of plants. But then the ladybugs showed up to eat those pesky aphids for lunch. Ladybugs are for sure the part of the hero camp, bravely protecting our plant friends from harm. And we've got to tell you about earthworms. They're like the secret agents of the garden. Earthworms eat all of the dead things, like old roots and leaves, and turn them into life for the soil. Every time we found one, we would all high-five and celebrate. They aren't pretty. They're awesome, and we love seeing them hard at work. We realized pretty quickly that we needed to keep the weeds out. They are the true bullies of the garden. Weeds try to steal water, sunlight, and nutrients from our fruits and veggies, and it's our job to make sure those little rascals don't take over. If we ignore the garden for too long, the weeds run wild and hurt our beloved plants. It's so much easier to do a little bit every day. We were officially gardeners and had a real-life garden to prove it. That garden became our pride and joy. Day in and day out, we tended to our plants, making sure they got plenty of sun and water. Every time a new plant sprouted up from the ground, our garden right along with it. As time passed, our garden grew bigger, and so did our family. When our garden was finally in full bloom and growing tall, we'd run through the aisles and watch the butterflies flutter around us. But one day, we were mid-skip. We noticed some trespassers helping themselves to lunch. And by lunch, we mean half of the garden. Animals may look cute and innocent, but some have a sneaky side. They can wipe out a garden in no time flat. The chickens ate the vegetables, the goats ate Mom's roses, and the bunnies weren't picky at all. They ate anything in sight. Saying goodbye to that many happy plants was even harder than throwing away our first fern. We debated if we should just give up. Was it really worth it to start all over again? Then we remembered one important detail. We are the gardeners. It was our responsibility not only to grow this garden, but also to protect it. So we put up a little fence to keep the animals out and got to work rebuilding our garden. It didn't take long to get our plants and flowers growing tall again. To this day, our very favorite days are when we get to gather the fruits of our labor. Mom loves to set the table with pretty flowers in every color you can imagine. We help her dream up recipes for the food we've grown. Sometimes when we see all of that beauty laid out, we can't believe our hands helped bring it to life, and it makes all the hard work worth it. It's what keeps us coming back day after day, season after season. We still keep a little fern on the piano to remind us of our small beginnings. Every time we water it, we're reminded not to give up when things don't work out the first time. Because the thing is, whether one potted fern dies or half of the garden is wiped out by little critters, every failure or setback teaches us something. Dad says that every hard thing we choose to do makes us braver for the next time. There are so many lessons waiting to be learned in a whole world of gardening ready to bloom. We are the gardeners, and you can be too. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. We are so happy that we got to make this super fun garden sensory bin with you. Show us how we love seeing your photos. We love seeing what you guys create. Join us later today for the rest of our segments. Bye, guys. Have a great day.